Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Vanderhyde, and I work for Tableau as the support community manager. And this morning, I'm hosting, I have the honor of hosting 4 presenters for this month's Think Data Thursday. I wanted to start off, since this presentation has to do with the JavaScript API, I just wanted to start off really briefly with a quick showing of, in the Tableau community, we have an area for customers helping customers, and some of the employees go in there as well to help out learning about the JavaScript API. And if you come to the community at community.tableau.com and come down to developer community off the menu, we have an area here dedicated to the JavaScript API. Where you can download the JavaScript API. You can see some examples in the community. There are documents, tutorials, and some videos in here as well. So if you have follow-up questions after today's presentation that don't get answered, this is a great place to come and ask questions and get help from some of the people who are presenting, and from lots of other users of the API. So I just wanted to pass that along. Okay. Next up, let me say a brief word about each of our presenters. There we go. Today we have Anya A'hearn. Anya has been working for over 20 years in analytics, business intelligence, and data visualization. Her client projects have focused on analysis for financial services, mobile and web applications, social media monitoring, airlines, and customer segmentation and targeting. Blending her background in economics and product design, she enjoys using Tableau to blur the lines between data visualization, infographics, and art. She's been a Tableau user for the last 6 years and was the 2012 Iron Viz champion. And if you came to TC 2015, you would have seen her as one of our judges as well. Next, we have Allan Walker. Allan Walker is a consultant for Slalom. His remit is to provide Slalom's clients with the best in the world Tableau-based integrated solutions, meeting or exceeding their requirements. His aim is to provide the right information to the right people at the right time. His missions are to integrate geospatial and business intelligence and to enable full sensory data exploration. Next up, we have Chris DeMartini. And Chris DeMartini came to Tableau through his work in network graphing. Since his arrival, Chris has focused on incorporating dynamic aspects to his visualization and has posted a series of guest blogs on DataBlick that include the likes of hive plots, circular networks, and even a family tree. His passion for data analytics and all things Tableau have led him to challenge the notion of whether a visualization technique is possible. In addition to his work at DataBlick, Chris has over 10 years of experience with risk and audit profession. Previously working for Deloitte and now Visa Analytics, he's been focused on the application of data analytics to the audit process and is viewed as a leader in his field. And I'm always jealous of that sort of Hawaii-looking picture there, Chris. Next, we have Jeff Shaffer, and Jeff Shaffer is Vice President of Information Technology and Analytics at Unifund and Recovery Decision Science. He's also an adjunct professor of at the University of Cincinnati in the Carl H. Linder College of Business Teaching, and he's teaching data visualization. He's a regular speaker at conferences, symposiums, universities, and corporate training programs on the topics of data visualization, data mining, and Tableau, and has taught data visualization at KPMG Advisory University. He was the winner of the 2014 Quantified Self-Viz contest, competed in the 2014 Tableau Iron Viz competition, and led the Cincinnati Tableau user group to victory in the 2015 War of Tugs. That's the Tableau user groups. He's also a Tableau ambassador for social media. So that's our team. And today we're going to be starting off with Jeff as our first presenter. And Jeff, I'm going to change you over now to be presenter. And you should have the ball. And
thanks, Jeff. Are you sharing my screen?
Oh, there we go.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Think Data Thursday. This session Today is actually being hosted at the University of Cincinnati, so I am currently in front of a room of about 35 people who are here today for Tableau training, and have had about 2 hours of Tableau training so far today, so we're going to throw them in the deep end here and go right to JavaScript. This particular topic came out of a talk that Allan and Anya and I did at the Tableau Customer Conference in 2015, which was our Tableau Minority Report, and was really focused on a new user experience, a UI, and looking at different ways that we could incorporate Tableau into the JavaScript API and ultimately into some other things. So I'm going to start with, I only have time to show 2 things today based on some exciting stuff that you're going to see in a few minutes. But what I first want to talk about is Reveal. Reveal is an online presentation format, and it's JavaScript based. And the screen you're looking at right now is done in Reveal. And it's a PowerPoint sort of format where, and it's free. You can upload images, you can code in images, sound files, videos, text, obviously a Tableau logo here, videos that we would have here, or other things that you might see in a presentation. What we did differently was talk about how we could combine some of these things and put Tableau in. And the reason we did that is there's some advantages that Reveal offer when you embed Tableau into its presentation. So I'm going to give you some of that. This is an example of a Tableau visualization that I did that's embedded into a Reveal slide deck. And you will see that the viz is interactive. I can select the points just as I would on Tableau Public, and I can interact with my viz just as I would on Tableau Public, because this is a Tableau Public viz. And it also gives us some styling controls. So the first thing we have to understand is that we use this JavaScript, this Reveal JavaScript, and we load that JavaScript in our HTML page, and then we simply run our Tableau Public or our server embed code, and I'm going to walk you through an example of that and how you could do that. So Reveal, why would you want to do this? Well, Reveal has a couple advantages to it. Number one, anybody who's worked in Tableau Public and brings up a viz, if it has a lot of data, you often get the spinner. And so what in reality is at the bottom of this screen, you'll see a blue bar. This blue bar is only 7 slides into the presentation, but it's actually loaded, preloaded all of the Tableau visualizations ahead of time. So they're already loaded in on the next slide. And so, and you can lazy load it. And so that's an interesting capability that it has. You can interact with the viz right on the slide deck. You have horizontal and vertical controls that are available. You have a progress bar. You can have an auto slide. You can loop it, so you could have the slide change every 10 seconds. So imagine it's your office. We do this at our office. If we want to have, numbers that would update from a database, we could incorporate a Tableau visualization into something that was looping. And it's also touch capable, and so we can do some nice things with gesture, which we showed at the conference, and some other capabilities. So here is a Tableau viz on Tableau Public, the old way. This is embedded, as a normal viz would be embedded, and we saw that spinner, and we saw what happened to it. And when we interact with, this is Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson created this great viz on urbanizing China. Mark's viz is a wonderful viz, but as you click from sheet to sheet and start interacting, you can see that I'm waiting for things to load. Where if you put this in a Reveal deck, I can go slide to slide to slide, and I'm interacting with each one. I just took them out of story points and made each one an individual slide, and I can still interact with my data on a slide-by-slide basis. So that's one nice feature about it. So another feature is that there's a lot of controls. You can turn your auto slide. That's, automatically it'll go second by second and it'll change slide. The other one, you can turn on a loop. It's just a simple change false to true, and it'll loop your slide. Your progress is that progress bar at the bottom, and then that lazy loading is nice. If you have lots of vizzes, you could load your visualizations 3 slides ahead or 2 slides ahead so that they're already loaded by the time that you get there. So that's a really nice feature of doing this in Reveal. There's also different slide transitions. You're looking at the default slide transition, but there's other slide transitions. Those are all controlled via the URL. So your same presentation, you just build it once, and then on the end of your URL, you just say transition equals convex, and then your slide will become convex. And so if I just take that same URL and I put that in here, I'm using the same exact presentation with the same code. It's not a separate web page or anything, but my transition from slide to slide, and by the way, it's loading all those Tableau visualizations again, it now becomes a convex transition from slide. It's not going to show up here well on WebEx, so I apologize for that. So you can play with that. The other thing that we did is we did voice control and voice recognition, and so we used some packages. We did gesture, but I wanted to show some other things. So one other UI that we used was a Metro UI, and we added voice recognition and voice response to it. So I won't have time today to show you Metro UI, just other than how it works, but we're using some of these same functions. We're doing all of this via JavaScript, so that each viz in this case is loaded when you open up from the Metro. And again, wonderfully touch capable here on your tablet or a touch screen. So when you open a viz, the viz now opens up and your Tableau public viz opens. Now, you don't get the lazy loading on Metro that you do in Reveal, but it is a nice way to present your visualizations, and you can open them. And so that brings us to the voice recognition and voice response. And so I wanted to show you how we're doing it and give you some code and tutorials on what we did to do it. All of this is posted on my webpage. If you go to Data Plus Science, oops, didn't want to do that. Data Plus Science, on my webpage, you go to Insights, and you will see two blog posts. One is on voice recognition and voice response for Tableau, and one is using Tableau with Reveal, and it will give you instructions, hopefully step-by-step enough that you can walk through what I'm about to show you. So, instructions for Tableau and voice recognition. Well, first off, you have to have a Tableau public visualization. You have to use Tableau the JavaScript API. The recognition is a JavaScript package called Anya A'hearn. The response that the viz is going to talk back to you is a JavaScript package called responsive voice. This will only work in a Chrome browser because Chrome is the only one that has permissions to do the voice recognition, so that's important. And then hosting capability. You're creating a web page, so you have to be able to host this somewhere. And for voice recognition, because it's controlling your mic, we have found that it would be best to have a secure hosting. So what I show you today will be done via secure hosting because it keeps asking for your permission over and over again for your microphone if you do not. And then you need a little bit of HTML experience and a text editor. I use Notepad++, which is what I'm going to use today just because it's free and easy. Everybody can use it. And I'm going to show you some simple HTML. So I walk through that. Your HTML looks something like this. So in your Notepad, this is your hello world. That is your base web page. And all web pages start with an HTML tag and a header tag and a body, and I just have the text that says hello world. And when I pull that up on a screen, my web page out to the world in my sandbox says hello world. And so what I want to do is start building something with that. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a Star Wars viz that, let's move some of the stuff over here. I apologize. What was that? Jeez. A Star Wars viz that Matt Francis built called Star Words. And so I'm using his viz throughout all of this exercise that I'm about to show you. So you can really use any viz that has the Tableau public, but that's the viz I'm going to use for today. So let's go to completed tutorial. So here is the end result that I'm going to take you to here.
My name is Tabitha. How may I help you?
So that is the voice package responding to me back saying, Tableau, my name is Tabitha. I named her Tabitha because it's all about Tableau, so I made that name up. I think you can see from my browser, I'm going to move it over here so you can see it over on the right-hand side. You see a red dot in Chrome. That means that right now that viz is actually listening to me. It's actually it's listening to all the words. It's not recording it anywhere, but it's listening to those words in the JavaScript package. So I'm going to give it some silence here. I'm going to restart it, and then I'm going to give it some voice commands.
Hi, my name is Tabitha. How may I help you?
Select Yoda.
Selecting Yoda.
Select Darth Vader.
Selecting Darth Vader.
Select Luke Skywalker. Select Luke Skywalker.
Selecting Luke Skywalker.
Start over. Start over.
Starting over.
So that is the final viz that has this recognition. Now, how did I build that? Let's pull that up and show the pieces of it. The tutorial online will walk you through the various pieces. But in essence, this stuff at the top is just the header, so you don't have to pay any attention to all this. This section in the script here is Google Analytics, so you don't have to pay any attention to that. So here's where it starts. You need a script line for Anya. That's one package that's going to be the voice recognition, and it has two JavaScripts, anyang.js and anyangmin.js. You will install both of those in your directory. Over on the right-hand side, in my folder called Tabitha, you will see over here that I have anyang and anyangmin, and those JavaScript, that JavaScript is all you need to do the voice recognition. The second line is responsive voice. That line is what you will use to get Tabitha to respond back to you, and that is one JavaScript package. That's all you need for that, and it's responsivevoice.js. So for three JavaScript packages, we can do voice recognition and voice response. Now, we create this function, initialize viz. I'm going to get to that in a second. That's down at the bottom, but on your load, you need to initialize your viz. Now, normally, you would go to Tableau Public and you would use an embed code to put your Tableau Public viz on the web. Instead of doing that, way down in the function here, we create these variables. And so this is the code. It's available on that tutorial. And this is the script that puts all that stuff into play. So on this script, you will see placeholder div is where you're going to have your name for your Tableau viz. The key is line 80, where it has the URL. That's the URL for this visualization. I'm not using 81 at all. That was a previous viz. So line 80 is what I'm using. That is calling the visualization from Tableau Public that says Star Works. That's a visualization by Matt Francis. He has that on his Tableau Public page, and so that's out there in the public world. I take his visualization, I put that in this URL, and now that becomes my object that I initialize and I interact with. So that's how we get the viz loaded. And so initializing viz up here in the body is just calling that and getting it started. And this div here in the center, that's where I put the Tableau viz. So that right there is taking that content and it's taking that ID that I created and just placing it on the page. Okay, I will come back to the voice commands in a minute. We have to then use the JavaScript API to control the visualization. So these functions are straight out of the Tableau API documentation. And so what you see here is documentation. I created a custom function called select Vader. It uses the JavaScript API and says on your active sheet, get your first workbook there, select your marks, and then it has the field name. I have a field name in Tableau, a blue pill that says character, and in that field for that pill, I have the values for Darth Vader and Yoda and Han Solo, and that function simply creates it. So I'm going to call that function. That function will select the marks. So I create a function for any character that I want. I just created a function for every character. Once you do that, oh, and I created a function for start over because I wanted to start the viz over. So I have a viz revert all, and that's how we get the viz to start over. The final step is then taking that and putting it together with voice command. So there's three parts to this. Each command. So part in quotes, select Darth Vader, that's what it's listening for. So the viz is listening for me to say, select Darth Vader. When it hears those words, it fires off the function. What function does it fire off? It fires off the function select Vader. And then after it does that, this is the command to get Tabitha to speak back to me. And you can do this in or out of a function. It doesn't matter. It's responsive voice.speak. And I just tell it what to speak. So it's speaking back to me, selecting Darth Vader. So I copy and paste that all the way through and just update my functions and what I want it to say. You will notice things like I had to trick Tabitha, I guess, in some of the words, like Obi-Wan, it didn't recognize, so you might do the letter O and then the letter B so that you can say OB and then the number 1 as opposed to WAN. So you might have to, in the first parentheses, where the first quotation where you put your voice command, you might have to trick, might have to sound it out to put what you're telling Tabitha to do. And so you put those pieces together, that's really it. There's those 3 JavaScript packages, the Tableau JavaScript API, and that's really what it looks like. And so when you're done, it's really not all that much HTML. You're doing a lot of copying and pasting for your functions. You can do a filter function, and you can do a select function, either one. The bird strike viz that I did was a filter function. The Star Wars viz that I just demonstrated is a select function. So I'm going to show Kelly Martin has a wonderful viz. Bird strike viz did the exact same thing with Tabitha in the Metro format. So I'm going to click on her viz.
Hi, my name is Tabitha. How may I help you?
Select Ohio. Select Ohio. Looks like my microphone stopped working. Filter gone. There's the live demo for you, right there. Always happens, right? Shut my microphone here. There we go. But we have some more voice commands, so I'm going to skip that because we're going to do more voice commands anyway in our next part of the demonstration. So I'm just going to finish that up there. The code is all available online for you. The star words is a working demo that's on the web page. You can just right-click and view all the source that I have. On the Data Plus Science web page, I walk you through step-by-step, going through what a normal embed code would look like, because this is what your normal embed code would be. We're not using that. So we take that hello world example and I show you how we make the changes, going step by step through the functions, and walk you through how we did that. So there's all the steps to create them and implement it. And the packages themselves are also available on here. They're trimmed down packages here. These are not connecting to these are loaded on my web page. So you can just download the ones I'm using, or you can just do a Google search for responsive voice and Anya and pull down the latest version of the JavaScripts that are on GitHub. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and pass it over, Patrick, and let you take over.
Okay, I've passed the ball to Chris, and Allan, I'm going to unmute you. You're unmuted. You're ready to go.
Can you hear me okay?
We can. Go ahead and talk one more time.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little light. If you can get a little bit closer, it'd be great. Thanks.
How about now?
Yep, that's great.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is build off of what Jeff just went through talking about, and this is really the beginning of the War Games theme that we put together recently and blogged about this week. What I have here is a page that was built after the initial login screen in the movie. And so it's really a great scene where Matthew Broderick takes, like a telephone line and logs into, a number of different computers that are on the line and comes across this one, and he thinks it's a gaming company, but he doesn't really know what it is. And he goes through various steps to try and log into the computer. And so what we've done is we've taken that concept and used JavaScript and CSS and HTML to build it out. We've added things to it like some of the voice responsive voice recognition that Jeff just went through. And so, for example, I can go ahead and send a command to it with voice, just like Jeff was doing. So I can try that now. Let me refresh it. Help, log on.
Help not available.
Joshua.
Greetings, Professor Falcon.
And so with the voice command that I really leveraged highly what Jeff and Allan and Anya did at conference, as well as what Jeff just walked you through, we're able to add those types of ways to interact with the page. In addition to the voice piece, we also wanted to add, just the ability to type, so I could go ahead and, type in hello here if I want.
How are you feeling today?
And then I also wanted to add in a way to interact with the page if you didn't want to type. So there's really 3 different ways to go through the sequence here. We went ahead and added all the various steps from the movie, so if you did want to go through the entire script of the movie, you can do that. If you're a movie buff, go ahead and knock yourself out with that. But anyways, if I go over to this commands option here, you can click on that, and that's actually going to bring up a window that Allan helped me put together, and that's a Tableau visualization in a modal window, so kind of like a viz-in-viz concept. And from there, I can go ahead and respond to him respond to the page by clicking I'm fine. And so what that did...
It has been a long time. Can you explain the removal of your user account number in U 1973?
And so what that did is it took the option or the mark that I picked in the Tableau visualization, sent it back to the page, sent that to the function, which then responded with the correct response from there. So as I continue to click through this, I'm going to go ahead and mute so it doesn't continue to speak over me. Rude computer. I'm going to say, let's see, where am I here? Sometimes people. And so as I click through here, I can continue to select the various items from the Tableau visualization. And this is done, you saw in Jeff's code that he went through, he was using the select marks async JS API call. And so this is utilizing an event listener against the marks on the Tableau visualization. And I can go through that maybe if we have time at the end of the session. I was worried it might take too long, but we can definitely hit on that at the end of the session if people are interested in how we did that. So I forgot where I was. Okay. So then we're going to pick here. And all right, so from here, what we did is we basically worked through the sequence from the movie. And so as I worked through that initial back and forth with the page, we've come to the screen now in the movie where they can really pick either the United States or Russia. We built on that a little bit. But here, this is another Tableau visualization that's built in to the page, same type of code that Jeff showed, and I can go ahead and just click within that to select the United States. And from there, this viz here is really the driver for why I tried to figure out how to do the select marks interaction with the page. If you imagine trying to type in, let's say, 100 of these targets that you see here, or just locations really in Russia, you can go ahead and type those in if you want. So that's initially how I started. So you just type it in, and it'll go ahead and add that to the queue for things to be utilized in the next viz coming up. And so what you have is a flow here through the page that utilizes visualizations to make it more interactive for the user and easier to go through. So obviously if I was going to go through here and type all these, even just the targets that you can see the names for, it would be pretty time consuming and take up too much time of what we're doing today. You can also just pick one if you want.
One targets acquired.
That's kind of boring. Let's pick a bunch of them. So it's really nice to be able to use the various mapping tools to select
298 targets acquired.
298 targets at once. Pick some here.
41 targets acquired.
Pick some here. Or not. There we go.
60 targets acquired.
And so you can see as I've been picking those, it's actually been responding with every single target that I picked. And I just did that so that you could get that feedback to you as you're working your way through the page. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step.
Middle logic.
And this is going to bring me into the second thing I'm going to talk about, which is the arc, the great arc, and hopefully this will load. We'll see. Come on. Come on. There we go. So it took a little while to load initially, but this is an animation of our arcs being built from the country that we initially selected, which was the U.S., to all 357 items that we picked in that second view. So it's completely interactive and dynamic based on what the user selects as they progress through the page. If we were to go back and select Russia as the starting point, it would be the reverse of this, basically. And so you can see it's timed along with our estimated time remaining in game here, which is another thing from the movie. And then there's that last command there. So from there, what I wanted to do next was go through how to build those arcs. There's one more step at the end of that I kind of cut off, and that's because Alan's going to talk about it in a minute. So you'll see that shortly. But with respect to the arcs, what I wanted to do is walk through the blog that we put together recently, and this goes through how you can basically go about copy and pasting what I did into your... Somebody mute, maybe? Is that Jeff? So anyway, this blog that we posted goes ahead and talks about how you can copy and paste what I've done into your workbook to create the arcs. So I'm going to do that real quick. You'll see here, create arcs in 5 minutes. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. All right. So for starters, we had this set of data. And here you're just seeing it in Excel. I was talking to Alan about the fact that you could easily do something like this using tools like SQL or Alteryx to make it automated. There's no reason for you to do this manually. You can definitely automate it. But for purposes of the demonstration, I'm going to do it in Excel. So the first thing you need to do is add 2 fields to your data. I call those path and path order. Path is basically the identifier of every line that you're going to be drawing. So each line needs to have a unique path. Path order is going to be used to define the start and stop of your line. So for these 2 fields in this example, I'm going to set path equal to my identifier, which is ID. I'm going to set path order equal to 1. I'm going to copy those down. And so now I have basically my path and path order set for the first piece of data. With Tableau, it requires, if you're going to do any type of path work, that you have at least two records for the same line. So you need to have the start and the stop as a record. So what you do to handle that is you're going to take your entire data set and you're going to copy it. And I've pasted it down here. So I've completely duplicated my entire set of data. And then obviously I need to differentiate that from the above, and you do that by making this path order 2. And you can really make path order whatever you want. You just have to handle that within Tableau when you get there. From here, I'm just going to delete this extra row. And the last step would just be, for me at least, to sort it so you can sanity check and make sure it looks right. So, and path order. Okay. So you can see over here on the side, I have path 1 with path order 1 and 2, path 2 with path order 1 and 2, and so on and so forth. I'm going to save that and hop into Tableau. I'm going to go ahead and connect to that file. We'll see if I can do it. All right.
3 hours for 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes, not 20.
All right. So from here, I've got my data set in. You can see I have my path and path order on the measures. I actually want those to be dimensions. So I'll move those up. On my blog, not my blog, on Anya's blog, where I posted our blog. So on there we have this workbook that you can see here. And this is really the basis where you're going to be pulling your formulas for in order to do your own arcs and your own visualization. So I'm going to start with boring longitude and latitude. If I copy those and move those over. Okay, so really those 2 fields, just so you know, those are just calling my origin and target latitude and longitude. And I'm going to go ahead and put path and path order on the shelf. I'm going to move my latitude to rows and my longitude to columns. And I've got my straight line paths, right? So everybody's done that before. And let's just make this 10 or something. Okay, so there are my straight line paths. That's just based off my data set. And from here, what we're going to do is actually go ahead and change these straight line paths into great arcs. So in order to do that, I only need 3 more steps, as long as I'm leveraging this other workbook I have. First thing you're going to do is you're going to copy the Bezier value, which might sound familiar if you've listened to any of the presentations I've done before. And so really what that is just a calculated field that shows, or not that shows, that sets the path, sets itself based on the path order to be either 1 or 100. And the reason why is we're going to create 100 values to create the arcs that we're about to build. So you copy that over, you create a bin based off of that, going back to one of my favorite tricks of densification. And the last thing you need to do is copy all these other fields. And so, copy. All right, so we've copied all that over. Let's go to a new sheet. We're going to put path on detail. We're going to put the bin on detail. You want to make sure that the bin has show missing values selected. And then from there, we're going to take our new latitude and our new longitude. Fingers crossed. And voila. So a couple things left just to clean it up. I'm going to change it to line. With the circles, you can actually see like every single point, so that's kind of neat. I'm going to make the bin the path, and I'm going to make the size small, and I'm going to change the transparency. And there you go. So maybe a little more than 5 minutes, but close enough. So you can definitely use this method. It's all on the blog. Feel free to copy and paste. I'm looking forward to seeing some arcs in upcoming Visit the Days going forward. Visit months. And hopefully you find all that useful. Definitely feel free to reach out with any questions, either on Twitter or on the blog, and we can try and help you out there. So with that, Patrick, I'll pass it over to Allan.
Allan, you're up.
Thanks, man. Let's do, I need to share my screen. Cool. Hello everybody. So what we did was we kind of took that crazy technique and went kind of mad with it. So in the film War Games, we have this this crazy computer that's kind of self-learning and becomes aware, and it's called the Whopper. So what we did was I kind of rebuilt the Whopper, make sure my Tableau server is up and running. So we'll see if it's going to work. Better sign into the server, hadn't I? Then this might actually work. So what we have here is Joshua Milligan's did a version of tic-tac-toe in Tableau. So we've taken that and we're animating it, and it's looping through a parameter. It's basically a case statement. Then underneath that, in the film, there's a sequence of launch codes, and Chris has built some equally crazy formula to basically randomize the sequence out there. And from left to right, we have obviously the missiles are firing in America, and the Minutemen are on flight, and then we see in the top right there is the other side of the world's response, and we have Russia getting really kind of angry, and China's starting to nuke Japan, and India and Pakistan are going at it, and we have Israel attacking Egypt for some reason, and the UK is getting in the action as well, and so is France. And then in the bottom right one there, we have something that's really very new in Tableau. This is something that 2.5 years ago wasn't technically possible. With using a background map, at least, Noah Salvatera did manage to make a polar projection in the foreground layer because he's a genius. But I wanted a map, and so Mapbox came to our aid, and we'll go through that in a bit. We also have some JavaScript going on inside this page. So you'll see we've got 4 little clocks in front of you. We have that was done in JavaScript. That wasn't done in Tableau, and we'll maybe go through that code block. We have a parameter as well, so we can see we can change it to just the UK's missiles there, or we can look at I don't know, let's have a look at China, and you can see the kind of extent of the deal here. But I think one of the reasons that we built this thing was for this. So this is how it ends up, right? I mean, this is how the scenario plays out. You've got Chris's beautiful arcs. You know, I'm really not a fan of chords, and we just wanted to make a bit of a statement with the data. Not only can we can make things in Tableau, do things that, you know, is used to be unachievable, but, you know, you look at the Mapbox background map, and it's just, you know, it complements the foreground there really well. And I think the other piece of this is that we really want to show that you know, we can do crazy things in CSS. So what you're actually seeing here, there's a border around here. This is a CSS, and it's a responsive circle, which means if I change my my web browser, the circle is going to remain, but it's actually going to, you know, it's going to respond to the browser size and update, which is really kind of nifty. And being able to put those border touches, and Jeffrey Shaffer has a post on CSS to do that. One thing you might not notice, it's kind of subtle here, but the outside frames, they've been bent inwards with CSS. It's a little trick which basically moves the frame in or out. So with that being said, let's kind of dive into the code here a little bit and kind of see how we built this thing. So at the top here we have tons and tons and tons of CSS, right? So CSS is markup that basically lets you do things with the colors and the positions of your web page. And I think, you know, my takeaway here right now is, you know, it's very, very easy to build a Tableau dashboard, right? I mean, it's getting to the point where, you know, almost anybody can do it. And put out something that's fairly decent looking, you know. And I think my point is that we need to start building applications, right? We need to be thinking about designing analytical apps, especially when you're trying to take things to a next step here. And you can see there's some detail in here, but it's all, I mean, it's just all a flow, you know. You can just go to the W3C class CSS background image, right? So, you know, I want a background image of my web page, so, and I don't know how to do that. Well, you just click on CSS backgrounds, and it'll, you know, there you go, there's the example. You just copy paste that, and that's all I do. I'm no coder, you know. And there's, you know, there's some fancy stuff there with like modal dialogues and stuff like that. And the real juice is this, right? This is your Tableau script. This is pulling in the Tableau viz into your web page, and I start going a little bit crazy here with, you can see this append thing. This lets me do things without making spinners and stuff like that show up, and I'm kind of defeating the Tableau CSS at this point. And then I'm, giving it some options to say, when you pull it, make it 100% all the time, make it dynamic and resize and everything. And then I use a little bit of loops. So this is what makes it animate, and it's just a simple, bog standard JavaScript loop that takes a variable and passes it to a parameter. I mean, it really doesn't get much more simplistic than that. And I have it synchronized, so it's all kind of things are going off at the same time, and I have to, think about the server response and how long it takes for it to draw and that sort of stuff, because we're drawing close on 500,000 marks by the end of the last frame. And you saw those clocks earlier. Boom, that's it, right? I mean, that's just a simple script. And I've got links to all of this on my website if you're really that bothered and go through it. We also did a Russian version of this, which is really kind of cool. So one of the things that you'll notice here is we've hacked the spinner on Tableau server, which is kind of nifty. When it animates through, we have some different CSS styled here, and it'll ask us, do you want to translate this page to Russian and what have you, and it's pretty cool. So you can see our little nuclear bombs going off here with the spinners. And then the last kind of piece that I want to go through is our latest kind of effort here, which is I'll just run through the code very quickly, because I just want to show you how trivial it is to build something super cool. This is a responsive polar clock, right? So for those of you that like this kind of thing, if you write, just Google is your friend here, polar clock, and there's the original code. And people have done kind of D3 versions of it, Protoviz is before D3 existed, but there we go. So we're like, well, we want this to work in Tableau, right? So we took this amazing post from Bora Bevan, and the link's up there. It's pretty cool. And Chris calced all of this off, one formula, off the now formula. But if we have a look at this, the web page source, which is what I'm trying to get at here, right? Everything's an application. It's not just a dashboard, right? We're building stuff here, right? It's not just a little frame that's doing something. This is actually something that's purposeful and useful, and you're seeing something that's live on Tableau Public. And so again, we go through this URL, and this is the variables to get this without the spinner and without the horrible grey flashing slide animation nonsense that kind of spoils the look and feel of your viz. But then we do something really kind of cute here. What we've done is we've made the height of our viz 112%. What that does is it gets rid of the Tableau banner underneath the viz. That silver strip that says, look at me, I'm on Tableau Public. Well, yeah, okay. And then, so that highlighted right there, that is all you need to refresh your data, so that each time it updates that viz to go and say, yep, okay, just refresh me. That's it. It's as simple as that. I do some kind of funky things up here with setting the max width so it fits nicely on an iPhone, for example, and it centers it. And then I have two little container divs, and then I have my Tableau viz, and I've got an overflow hidden, and then you end up with something like that. And I think that's, at this stage, it's like we're now being able to do things with JavaScript and Tableau that, you know, kind of go just way beyond building a pretty little dashboard with a map in it. And at that point about maps, I'm going to hand it over to Anya, and she's going to show you some incredible detail that we've been able to deliver using Mapbox.
Woo! Thanks, Alan. Yay! Let me go ahead and switch over to me. Yay! Everyone
There you go, Anya.
Yep. All right, now there. Woo! Alrighty then. So a couple of things that we're able to do with Mapbox. One is really try and match the look, tone, and feel of the 1983 movie War Games. So it's really important in a viz to kind of create a cohesive feel. And so this is what we were going for. And this is what it looks like in 2016, created with Mapbox. And I'm just going to go actually over to what it looks like in Mapbox itself. And as you can see, this is kind of, it looks very much like the overview as it looked in the movie, but we can also zoom in and out, and as we do, we can add levels of detail, like information about the actual nuclear sites. We can add things like where Air Force bases are located, and we can add the air flight sectors. So really in keeping up with the look, tone, and feel of the 80s movies and trying to match kind of the level of detail that was in there, but really modernizing it and making it look a little bit slick, a little bit more clean. So there we are trying to match the regular view of the look, tone, and feel. Excuse me. And just to kind of show you how that impacts the visualization, here is what the viz will kind of look like if we're just using the standard out-of-the-box dark map, and then again with the Mapbox map layer added in, you can really see how kind of matching up the design in the foreground data layer in Tableau with the format of the data layers in the background in Mapbox, how you can really create a cohesive piece that you know, looks like it was designed together. We also went through, and Alan did his magic using GDAL to convert everything to polar coordinates, and so there was a polar view in the map in the movie, and this is the 1983 version of it. And here is the version that we created in Mapbox to match it. And just to go through what that looks like, again, the same thing. I can zoom in and out. I can add all the different layers of detail, the Air Force bases, the air sectors. This time we'll zoom in on Russia. You can see a little bit more detail going in on there. Cool. Yeah.
I'd like to thank Mr. Matt.
Oh yeah, Matt! Woo! Yeah, he pointed us in the right direction and gave us our first polar map that we were then able to modify and customize and add all these different layers of detail and data into it. And so here is what the polar view looks like in Tableau with the Mapbox glitter added. And without the Mapbox glitter, there's an entirely different end to the story. So here we have the, if you weren't able to create the polar map in Tableau, we have suddenly South America and Africa. Slightly different outcome. All right, so that was really just talking about how using Mapbox to create different layers and blend them in with the layers in the foreground layer in Tableau in order to create a cohesive look, tone, and feel. Another great reason to use the Mapbox is just the ability to add all the different layers of data that we wanted to add to really be able to match these screens that were in the original movie. And we all know in Tableau you can do a dual access, and we're using that to have the lines and then the explosion circles. But if we wanted to add more information like where the nuclear sites are, where the Air Force bases are, we need to be able to add a lot more layers into our visualization. And so thank you, Alan, who went and did all the research and figured out where the nuclear sites were and all the Air Force bases and forwarded me all the shape files so I could bring them into Mapbox. And what I really want to kind of focus in now is just how similar the process is. It's just data, and even in Tableau, all we're doing is taking points and lines and shapes and moving them around in on a plane on XY coordinates, and then we're styling them with different colors and sizes, right? So we're all familiar with, the interface of how to do that in Tableau. So what does that look like in Mapbox? So when you have a shape file, it comes with all these different piece parts to it. And if you open up the one that has a .dbf on the end of it, and I just open this up in Open Office, which is a free kind of online office tool.
Yeah, don't do this in Excel.
You can actually see, hey, we're familiar with all of these. These are just dimensions, right? So when we get into Mapbox, we can look in here and we could style things based on allegiance, right? In our example, everything that's NATO is blue and everything that's Warsaw Pact is red. So just like you would style a dimension or an attribute in Tableau, we can go ahead and take advantage of these different attributes in Mapbox and style them by making them points, lines, and shapes and coloring them accordingly. Or you could open it up in another online tool called QGIS, and you can go in here and you could edit things or make changes here. Make updates to things. So again, it's just the concept of these are attributes, there's dimensions, and there's metrics. You can open them up in a couple of different ways, manipulate them so that you can then take advantage of them in Mapbox. And we'll show you how to do that in a second, but you can also bring all kinds of layers into Mapbox. So I wanted to walk through an example really quickly of where I found historic maps online that are actually geocoded, and you can download them as a geotip. And so here's this website, the David Rumsey Maps collection, and he has maps from all over that are beautiful and historic. And so I downloaded an example of one, and just really quick, just to show you how you can play with all the different layers and style them. Here's just a basic, this is just the white standard out-of-the-box map from Mapbox. I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer. You can see I have a lot of layers. Okay. Oops, sorry. Let me click it twice. So here is a historic map that is overlaid on top of the white map. I just uploaded the data as a geotip. And I can go ahead and maybe it's a little bold for my taste, so I can go ahead and make it maybe a little bit lighter. And again, here are all the different layers that come with that standard out-of-the-box map, but I can go ahead and take the layer I just brought in and actually move it below in the order of the level, and now all of a sudden I have that map behind certain layers like the roads. Okay. And so you can see how you can mash up the different layers and reorganize the order that they're in, and you can restyle things.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, and so I can make the roads a different color. And once I have these layers, again, I can bring it back into. Sorry. I can bring it into Tableau using a TMS file, and there's detailed explanations thanks to Chris Toomey on how to bring the new Mapbox GL layers into Tableau 9.2 and above. And Matt Irwin, who's on the phone, you can email him and he'll give you a special permission to your account to be able to use the GL layers. So thank you, Chris Toomey, and thank you, Matt Irwin. And so again, back to kind of the similarities between styling point shapes and lines in Tableau versus Mapbox. You just saw me bring in a new data layer. When I bring in that data layer, I can do things like add a filter. So in this case, I brought in one layer several different times because I wanted to style each one slightly differently. If it was NATO, I wanted to color them blue. If it was Warsaw Pact, I wanted to color them red. And then depending on where the nuke was, if it was on a sub, an airplane, or a missile.
You've got radiuses with inline rapid text going around the circle. Are you kidding me?
Yay! Anyhow, so that's the next slide, is that you can go through and you can style each of the different attributes. So when I bring in a data element, just like we can style the text and we can assign a color and we can assign an opacity in Tableau, you can do the same thing via this beautiful Mapbox GL styling. Okay. And so once we have all the layers, we can bring them together in Tableau. And just to highlight how beautifully they work together, here is the Tableau without the Mapbox layers. And I always wanted to point out that although the Russians really hate the Giants, they hate the Dodgers more. And then here is Mapbox without the Tableau layers. Again, very beautiful. But to really tell the story. Here they are combined together, and it just, you have the beautiful great arcs from raining down with the explosions. Those two layers are done in Tableau, and then the background layer of the Mapbox map just creating this beautiful, cohesive, terrifying viz of,
Oh, craziness.
Cool. That was my deal.
Got time for questions?
1 minute.
Oh, brilliant.
Patrick, are you there? Hello? Hello?
He's gone.
Hello? Did anyone look on chat? We've been disconnected for... Hello? Oh.
He's probably got something.
Well, we're just going to enjoy some bacon until someone maybe just... Can you open up the chat window? Want to open up chat and see if anyone has questions?
Or anybody can come up mute and talk to us. We're not shy.
Sorry about that. I lost control of my screen for a second there. I was there, and let me go ahead and we have the Q&A on, and I don't have any questions in the Q&A. Let's go ahead and use the Q&A module. If there's anything. There's a question about license and cost to using Mapbox Studio.
Matt Irwin's on. You can go to the website, and they have different pricing plans. The first one's always free, and then we actually have a coupon code that I can... Let me open up. There are some to get a standard account. I had it in another presentation. Matt, if you're on, can you put the chat? Can you pop that in the chat, maybe?
And let's see, Matt, I'm just going to allow you to...
Here we go. If you see my desktop, there's the coupon code, MDX4TC15, and so that gives you a standard account, which gives you a few more layers for 3 months to get you up and running and started until you can talk your corporate sugar daddy or sugar mama boss into buying you the for your account.
Great.
It's much cheaper and easier than setting up your own web server and app server. And look at all the fabulousness you can do. Any other questions?
That's it in there right now.
Let's see Jeff's Ninja.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah.
So, I want to thank you, Allan, Anya, Jeff, Chris. Thank you each for showing up and doing the presentation today.
Yeah, thank you for hosting, Patrick. Yay!
Yep. And a reminder that as I presented at the very beginning, there's the JavaScript API area of the community forums. It's a great place to go and share your code, get help, and learn more about the JavaScript API and download it as well. So that's a great starting point. And then finally, this presentation will be available online later today on YouTube in our playlist that's there, and then it will also be available with a link to the location from the Think Data Thursday area of the community forums. And with that, I just want to say again, thank you everyone, and go Hawks, Chris. Yep. Take care, guys. Bye.
Oh, wait a minute. I did. Nobody blows up the Seahawks, like only, Seattle. So,
okay.
there you go.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for attending.